Welcome everybody to the May 2024 Meet the Expert event. My name is Terry Maxwell, and I'm so delighted that you're here. We have a couple of events. These are all community events. They're available to the general public. On May 21st, we're going to be talking about a methodology called Business Simple. It is one of those breakthrough elements that you really need to scale a business. And it really is about managing supply and demand. And then on the personal side, on May 30th, we're going to be dipping our toes into pure confidence. And confidence is something that all entrepreneurs have to work on because there's a lot of failure in entrepreneurship, and learning how to have a different perspective about that is really it's really an important tool in your tool belt. Just a little bit about me. I started multiple companies, serial entrepreneur. I helped take a company public back in the late 90s. I'm older than I look. And then about 15 years ago, I had a little purposeful awakening and said, I want to make money and make a difference. And I started a portfolio of companies. We invest in purposeful businesses, and we also build our own. And Shifco is one of those businesses. It's the fifth company that we built in our portfolio. So I'm excited because every day I lead this multi-million-dollar portfolio of companies that are all purposeful. They're dedicated to doing purposeful work. And really, really proud of Shifco. And that's going to be a great segue into introducing our expert today. So Shifco's impact, our purpose is to help conscious entrepreneurs grow their business. Everything that we do is around that. And we've had a lot of success in that regard. So in July of 2021, 53.4% of our members had doubled their revenue. As of last year, was 84.9%. And not every member doubles their revenue, and not every member wants to double their revenue, but it was one of those elements that we use to evaluate whether or not what we're doing is working. There's three reasons why, and Kim, as you're going to hear today, is one of those reasons. The first reason is we use a diagnostic prescriptive format. So what that means to entrepreneurs is you're not working through a set program. You're only working on the things that you need to work on, and you're going to focus on one thing at a time. It's very effective and very efficient. But the biggest reason why we have the success and the loyalty that we have is this team support. So there's an entire team that supports your success. You're not just working with one coach, you're working with a team, and that team has eyes on your business. That team meets on a regular basis. And you're going to get to meet one of those people today. And then the third thing is what we call personal fuel. So we work on the whole entrepreneur. So we're working on the business side. How do you structure your financials? How do you actually generate new business? How does marketing work? How do you do differentiation? What should your pricing be? And we work on all of those elements, but we also work on mindset and confidence and prosperity and things along those lines. So speaking about the team support, when we started Shifco, we set a couple of bold ideas. One is that we wanted to serve change makers, people that are changing the world. They're making the world better. And then second is we want to measure our success, and not many business growth institutes or academies or whatever they're called do that. We wanted to measure our success, report on our success. But most importantly, we did not want to have employees. We wanted the business to be led by real entrepreneurs doing real entrepreneurship. It wasn't philosophy. It wasn't, a chapter they read in a book. It wasn't some business they started decades ago that they weren't really working today. We really wanted the mentors and coaches who were serving our members to be in the thick of it, because we know entrepreneurship can be quite difficult. So with that, Kim is actually one of our first mentors, and we selected Kim very early in the process because her personality she's just very positive. She's very uplifting. She's very encouraging. but she's got real deep knowledge, and she had already been successful. She's more than doubled her business using our methods. She knows how to apply the methods. But the way that Kim views the world was really what got us excited. Kim saw instantly the need for authentic marketing. And so we asked Kim to be a mentor. She's been a mentor with us for years. She's also an advisor to a lot of our members, helping them on the marketing side. And so I'm just delighted to have you here today, Kim, to share some of your wisdom. Kind of introduce yourself and give us a quick overview of the value that you provide. And then I've got some questions, and I'm sure those in our audience might have some questions as well.
Awesome. Well, I love questions, so I hope this is a discussion. So hi, everyone. I am very excited to be here today because ShiftCo has been one of the great secrets to the success of my business. And I owe Terry and all the folks that I've worked with at ShiftCo a tremendous debt. So what I do is bring a business owner's vision to life with their brand. And many business owners really struggle with this. They have a great idea, but they're actually intimidated by marketing, right? They don't know how to do it. Maybe they've tried a little bit themselves to save money and it didn't land. So what we uniquely do is like pull out from their vision the elements and make sure that it can be used properly in marketing. And this is what sets you apart. How do you differentiate yourself, which many of you know from the ShiftCo program is critical. But also how you package it in a way that you can quickly be seen as the solution to your customer's problem. And that's not easy. You really have seconds to do that. So if you don't really understand your customer well, there's a chance you're not doing that as well as you could be. And that's what I find all the time. So this idea of take what's in your head and put it in a way that it can be used effectively for marketing so that you can connect with that loyal customer that you want more of in your business. And because it's a positive process, so I've developed my own methodology that's a combination of creativity and a methodology called appreciative inquiry. Because it's positive, we're not going to talk about anything negative as part of your brand. Because why do that? We want to build your strengths, right? What you're really good at. We invite customers into the process. And I can tell you, I've done, since I started my business 4 years ago, 140 organizations have used my methodology. And the thing that really is impactful is to hear right from your customer what they value. And we can do that as part of the process. You may not feel so comfortable asking that, but I can as a trained facilitator. And then you hear that, and it transforms how you understand your business and your brand. And I've seen this many times. The hardest thing is to make that shift from what you think about your business to what your customers value about your business. You may be so into the weeds, you understand it so well that you don't know what their problem is that you're solving. So this methodology works really well. And from there, when I started, I just did the brand piece. And I learned through Terry and through working with a lot of other folks that then people need more help. Maybe they need a website after that. Maybe they need a logo. So I partner with a collective who really get brand, who really are also conscious marketers. And then together, we carry people through a process to bring that brand to life in multiple ways.
That's amazing, Kim. I love that. And I love what you said about you bring entrepreneurs' vision to life. I love that. Um, you've talked a little bit about the value you provide. One of my favorite questions is, why did you actually start your business?
Oh, I love this question because I'm just so passionate about this concept of why, and I develop a why for every business I work with. I think it is the way you connect. So for me, I worked in the corporate world for 30 years. I was an executive at a $3 billion company. And I saw all the things that were wrong about the work world, people in silos, um, some discrimination as a woman in a very technical engineering company. I saw people just not doing as well as they could. So as part of that journey, I went back for a second master's in creativity, and I learned about appreciative inquiry, and I started to use it in my company. And it was working absolutely great. It so quickly, like in 4 hours, we did a strategic plan for a company, for some leaders who had never worked together. And we landed a plan in 4 hours that we used for a year. These methods were working. I start to say, this could be a business. I really always wanted a business. But, it's a lot of people when you say, oh, I'm going to leave an executive position. Say, oh, you're crazy, right, to do that. So as life would have it, my stepson and daughter-in-law were getting married at Zion National Park. And I went on a hike with a yoga guru. And she said, okay, now you're in this very special place where you're visioning, where the Native Americans for centuries have visioned. And mine was, what am I waiting for? What's going to be different in a year or 2 years? So I said, by my next birthday, I'm out and I'm starting the company. And it was the best thing I ever did. And what I'm passionate about is showing people a different way to work, not alone in your cubicle, but in a collaborative way, by injecting creativity in everything you do, instead of just doing things like you've always done them. And also being more strategic. So I saw a lot of people in the work world that didn't do things based on strategy. They weren't really thinking out where they wanted to go as a business. So I'm all about injecting my why is really to be more collaborative, creative, and strategic at work. And I try to do that every day.
And you do that really, really well, as I got to experience 2 weeks ago in your session that you gave. I really walked away with some very powerful insights. So I know you do that really well. One of the questions that I like our experts to speak on, because I believe it strikes at the heart of success in your business, because there's lots of people that try to start businesses. There's lots of people that stop. There's lots of people that meander, but the ones that are truly successful building a business have something in common, and that is they are focused on ensuring they meet the needs of their customer and that they're providing solutions that work. So when you're working with your customers, how do you meet their needs and ensure that the solutions that you're providing are actually effective and working?
So I'm very passionate about this, and it has a lot to do with when we do their strategy, we really understand what problem it is they're solving and who their ideal customer is. And as I mentioned earlier, we include the customer's voice in there. So that helps them feel confident in making that mental switch they need to do to start to talk in terms of what problem they're solving for the customer. Because if what I found is if businesses don't do that well, then they're not going to be successful in their branding or marketing. But likewise, it's very important that people such as conscious entrepreneurs, the people in this room, love working with their ideal customer and are very intentional about saying who that is and building their marketing around it. And if those two things we land correctly, then we not only are successful, but have the enjoyment we want as entrepreneurs as well. So this, to me, I'm constantly checking that we're clearly solving the customer's problems and in a very collaborative way, evolving the business. So my tagline is, I meet you where you are and I take you where you want to go. So I also manage a process, and I'm constantly checking with the client that they have the comfort level and we're bringing them along so they are growing their knowledge of branding and marketing at the same time they're executing. So I really feel this constant, and I know you're also passionate about it, Terry, and you teach us how to do it in differentiation, but ask your customers what they value. Check with them on this. But I also feel I have to be true to what is best for their strategy. I have to tell you this story because so all of us have had difficult clients, right? And early in my business, I had a very difficult client, very smart, accomplished, did not want to take my recommendation and fought me on a lot of them. So this, when I look back on the 4 years, this was one where I didn't think it went well, right? So last night I was at an event and she comes up to me and she's like, I should have listened to you. What you told me, I'm doing now. And it really, really works. And you could have knocked me over, you really could have knocked me over. Like, I will, really encourage people, even if it's a stretch, that you have to have a strategy with your brand and you have to stick with it. And that it works extremely well when you do.
I love that story. I think it ties to my next question. When you think about the 4 years of the journey that you've been on and the success that you've had, what's the greatest reward? Is it the success? Is it seeing a customer? Is it a scenario like that? Is it the people you work with? What do you feel like is the greatest reward from building your business?
Having worked in the corporate world, it is so much fun to be an entrepreneur. It really is. You have more control over your life and freedom, obviously, as well. But I can remember working so hard and nights and weekends, and then they'd say, oh, now we're going to go in some other direction, and all that work went nowhere. Whereas for me, I know where the work goes. If I commit to something, I see a company grow. I see a customer who is employing other people and making the world better and doing all those good things. So for me, that really motivates me. I love that I can, if something isn't going well, I can pivot. I can, I'm constantly adding other services or little things that people need. I'm constantly improving my brand experience because I'm motivated. I love it. I love seeing the results. And the other thing is, I love to learn about these companies. So I have to really dig in deep and learn about the businesses in order to brand them properly. So I've learned so much and I love doing it. I wake up and I'm like, oh, I get to learn about this today. Right? So those two things really motivate me.
Yeah, and it's very, very obvious. You're truly one of the kindest, just so positive all the time. And this next question, I ask every entrepreneur this. It was the first big question that I had as an entrepreneur 25 years ago. But building a business can be challenging. I truly believe it's one of the most difficult things you'll ever do. And part of the reason why it's so difficult is because most of the things we try don't work, and there's a lot of trial and error. So when things don't go as planned, how do you manage your mindset? And I want to put a little caveat, a little asterisk there. I know you have a degree in appreciative inquiry and creativity, and you really do understand the science and the art of creativity. But what's your go-to strategy to manage your mindset so that you can move through the things that don't work?
Mhm. So, I think this is a great question because mindset is behind almost everything, right? So for me, when I had, when I approach something that maybe isn't working or that's problematic, I like to throw it open to the group. I like to get more people's viewpoints, and invariably that widens my perspective. And what the way I saw it when it happened isn't always where it is, and especially on the sales front. So my whole life I've done marketing. One of the things I was really worried about when I started my business was sales. I've never done this. I don't know if I can do it. I got mindset, right? But my husband had spent his career in sales, and he would teach me so many things. Like when I would look at something one way, I wasn't really looking at it the right way. So, and I also have my own mentors that I work with. I have, other business owners that I work with. I'm part of the power team within Shifco. And I need the wisdom of all those people to get you through fears, limitations, and help you see it different. And that's my secret is how can I look at this differently to see it as an opportunity rather than a problem. And as I said, my husband taught me that sometimes when something goes, you have a problem with a client or a problem with a colleague, that can make your relationship even stronger. And so don't forget that, if you get through this together, you can come out the other side even stronger, closer, more collaborative. So that's what I would leave is, get someone else perspective, get some help on it. Make sure that you're seeing it in a holistic way.
Yeah, that is great advice. And I've actually seen you do that. I've seen you do that with members that you're working with as well. So I know you live by that. My last question, and then we'll open it up to the group, who I hope the group will pick at some of your branding ideas. But when you think about increasing your impact, so I want to put this in context because our leadership team was just debriefing about the symposium that we were at and how magical it was. And we said, oh, if we were able to serve 1,000 people that were like what we experienced in Costa Rica at the symposium, they're all change makers. They were all change makers. They were there. They're up to something big, and they were both resting and resetting their mind and getting different input and learning from each other. It was just amazing. So I'm really kind of honed in on this. Like, how do you, Kim, what's your secret for growing your business so that you can make a bigger impact? Because I know you're driven as much by the impact as you are by the profitability of your business, but what's your secret for increasing your impact?
Well, I think what I see a lot with the people that I work with on their brands is people are humble and they don't necessarily share their successes, share their light. And even when you know, they hear over and over again, this is the impact they're having, they don't sing it from the rooftops. And I think it's necessary to, and it takes work. So one of the things I'm doing right now is I completed a strategic plan, and I used my methodology called co-creating the future. And I reached out, and the Center for Appreciative Inquiry is very interested in having this be a case study. So we're going to do the work to kind of tell the detailed story of the impact of this project. And that I know I need to do more of, and I encourage all my clients. Case studies are very important, and they can be done in lots of ways, like a webinar such as this, or an article or a blog, or so many different ways. But really take the time to celebrate and to understand the impact you're having on a business. And I think some of us who are service providers, maybe we don't check back to see what was the result, right? And then you're not really documenting the impact you're having unless you can kind of see people over a length of time. So I would say, you know, take the time to celebrate, take the time to sing it from the rooftop, number one. Number two, do the work to tell the full story. And others will really learn and emulate if you do that well.
That's great advice. Excellent advice. Well, let me just open up the call and see if people want to pick your brain just a little bit. We've got about 10 minutes left. Anybody have a question for Kim that you'd like to ask?
Well, I'd like to start because I have to jump off a few minutes early. Well, Kim, as you know, I've worked with you, and so I've had the benefit of the wisdom that you've been sharing. And, you know, you kind of touched on it today that many of us struggle to tell our story because it sounds like we're bragging or, you know, that sort of thing. And so how do you counsel or coach people around owning their success, owning the benefits of working with me or with Paul or with Shifco?
Mm-hmm.
How do you coach people about that?
So, and you know, you're absolutely right. And one of the things that I like to do is, again, include the customers in your session. And when you hear right from them the impact, say, look at, they're saying it. Why can't you say it? Right? And I often, as you know, Anne, one of the things I do is I have people go and I have them get words to describe their brand from people in their circle. I said, look at these people are saying it. You know, one of my clients had checked with 47 people. Like I require 3 or 10, you know. But, you know, if they're saying it and it's true, you can hold it. And that's why building a true brand is I really talk about that. Because if you're saying something that isn't, then you're going to have problems down the road, right? But if it's true and your customers hear it and you know in your heart it's true, you can say. So I think really pulling it out of people, putting it on paper in a way that they can see it's part of a strategy, and really showing them that that's truly what others think of them. Does that make sense, Anne?
It does. Good. Thank you.
Any other questions for Kim? We've got time for one more question.
Yeah, if I could, Kim, maybe building on that.
Sure.
I am at a point where perhaps you were 4 or so years ago, where I'm transitioning from corporate. I am just now about to launch my new entrepreneurial practice, so I don't have a customer base that I can go ask. What do you think of me? What do you see as my strengths? And at the same time, I want to be real intentional about how I establish my brand, and I want it to be authentic to me. There's a million sources of information out there where it's difficult to separate the signal from the noise. So I'm curious what your approach is for someone who's in my situation, just kind of in this liminal state of starting a new entrepreneurial practice.
First, I have to say congratulations. You're in for a wonderful ride. I'm so happy for you. So this does happen a lot. And I work a lot with startups who don't have a strong customer base. But people who look like your ideal customer, from your corporate world. You have a nice network, I'm sure. And there's this concept of reflected best self is coming out of some of the work at MIT, that one of the things we find is that we don't necessarily know ourselves as well as our others do. So if you can check with people that you used to work with and ask for their input on, what did you like about working with me? What was valuable? What do you think about my personal brand? That is very valuable. And they will have insights that you may not have yourself. And this is very scientifically proven. Isn't everybody good at branding? It's so easy for me to do branding. So I'm not even going to write that down as what I'm good at. Of course, that's not the case, right? And the things that you do are so natural that other people will do them. Other people do not do them like you do. So there's also an aligned activity called strength spotting that people in your network can absolutely help with that. So if I were you, I would, again, make sure you have others who know you in the session, and they will be able to provide tremendous insight. Does that ring true to you, Paul?
It does. Yes. Thanks, Kim. Very helpful.
I'd be happy to send that article to anyone who's interested, because I found it very valuable. And I did that, by the way. One of my mentors, when I left my corporate job, told me to do this before I left and gave me a series of questions to ask the people that I worked with there. And it was invaluable when I was there.
Yeah, I'd love to see that article. Thanks.
Great.
Awesome.
You put your info in the chat, right, Paul?
I did, yes. And we're already connected on LinkedIn as well.
But okay, perfect.
Awesome. Well, Kim, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with our audience and the ShipCo community. You're a delight to work with, and I know that all of our members that have used your branding and marketing services are singing your praises. So thank you so much. Any closing comments or words of wisdom, Kim, to wrap up with?
Yeah, I guess I would just say, even if there's others in your circle who are struggling with their marketing or struggling with people not really understanding what they do or what they do differently, just to spend some time on brand is very valuable. That people often go right to campaigns and say, I'm going to spend dollars before they've gotten that piece right. And Paul, you're smart to realize you need that as you start. But many folks are just so anxious to get out there with the demand generation that they don't spend the time to really make sure they're aligning with their customers. So I absolutely recommend it.
Great closing comments. And again, thank you to everybody that joined and that's listening in. And Kim, thank you again for your work and your amazing contributions to the world and to ShipGo.
Thank you. It's
Thanks,
my
everybody.
pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.